Alright, that don't die in body carry sugar lana, Devadan Dunga said the Chasa, Sim Nangi Chi, so Nangi, Samnotan sugar tone, and Azulia Dunga Mangu, the young Sugores, as me Sebi Dunga de Ungores, the Garcin Gorsen, now Samnotan sugar and Ungores. Tis an Samno. Shenlia, Tivi Samba, Nubi Samba, and the G, Nagyata, Chado, and the Denige Sambi to Nukune Labaina, and the Legaro Chik Pejita, and the Dinungo, Gunori Chasan, and Shenlia, Nubi Jawar Pejita, Dinichane, and to Dungamu Ligo Regere. Dini Zadang Azulia, Samba Sambo, Chik Shenlia, Zewata, Jambi Samba Chikevena, Digi Gunia Labigeta, Chiki. Lu long Jedang, and Jalia, nobody Pestan, Shelley Pembeja, Pestan to Gore, the Nenza, Dangazulia, Gechimo Carresene, Samba Sampoki or the Gechimo Shure, kissing as a Samba Sampoki or the Gechimo, the Shirua.
Good evening. So last week we started to look at this text, Bodhicitta and the Six Perfections, and amongst what we looked at is that the importance of our mind. We all want happiness. We all want to be freed of suffering. But in dependence on our way of thinking, we either experience a lot of suffering or can experience happiness, lasting happiness. And our pathways to achieve happiness, one of which is that of the material world. And the material world that we have developed has come about in dependence on a motivation. And if one's motivation to develop technology or any other object within the material world is one where afflictions such as anger and pride dominate, then the result is likely to be unwholesome. Whereas if the motivation, on the other hand, is one which is of how can I be of benefit to others? How can I ease the suffering of others, add to the quality of life of others? Then the result is going to be one that will be beneficial in this world. So from understanding this, we see from this perspective how important it is to develop a wholesome outlook, a virtuous outlook.
That's some Sambo Kiores, Tizan Samba Sambo Nani Yanda, Samba Sambo Yaksho de Carresina, that's some Tamchi, Sanjiko, Topper Show, Sipi, Janju Sim is. That's Janju Sim, the Gulaki to what you were, some Yaksho did this. Tizada Janju Sim, the Nish Samba Chioban, the Gunela Bigalia Carachevina, Shenley, Pembach Mother, Novaju Mares, Tizan Rashi Nicola, Digu to get our did answer. Janju Sim the Google, Tizan Samba Sambo, Janju Sim Google. That's Semba Sambo, that the Nigi, Nandan Nangbe Che Nan Shedu, that Semba Sambo and the Yashu Janju Sim, Janju Sim the Google essay. Tis that Janju Sim Ding Azukila Gelia, and Tablam Ganeshin give a Tapsam Joe de Lana, Digia Delia, and to get Dashan Yamji some dance, Gia Tapsha Jita, and Dignelia, you do some dance, and Gia Tapsha, young essay. The names are done as a kissing as a share did that. You do some daje and Janju Sim Giagi and Tablam Deje. And Dishubare, just not that you do some dialect, Gialo Kumbala, Dambong and the Karaku Simne, Giawangachi or some dialect, just like Giawangama, but it didn't get some tangures, and DJ La and the Garos in Angazuge, Danyum Simjan Tamje, and she, Danyum some tangures, they kissing out the Digo for shooting.
Within the teachings of the Buddha, the very best of wholesome minds is to develop bodhicitta. The good heart of bodhicitta is the supreme mind to develop. To the extent that one develops this determination that I will become a Buddha in order to lead all beings to a state freed of suffering, then whatever one does will not bring harm to others, but will rather benefit them. And this, moreover, will lead, such a motivation, moreover, will lead to you yourself experiencing tremendous happiness, as well as those that you interact with. the Supreme Mind of Bodhicitta, the Buddha presented two methods to cultivate it. One being that of equalizing and exchanging self with others, and the other being the 6 causes and 1 effect method. In our text here presents the latter method, which we started to look at last week. And before one gets to the actual trainings of the 6 causes, one needs to reflect on, develop the foundation of first reflecting on reincarnation and impartiality. So we looked at reincarnation last week and started to look at impartiality.
Samlo titar tang na sa kansa ane kashi nye dang shen nam tra tarjik du zimpyu lo dang di kin le jungbi ki an cha dang yu nubu chung du zho tu pse.
So let's return to the text. So we have slightly different translations in front of us, but they will be quite similar. So starting with where we concluded last week. When you contemplate in this manner the fixed apprehension of some persons as friends and others as enemies, and the consequent generation of attachment and anger will weaken.
Da samlo didar tana sedu deshi kasan nyama she dilang zuge gansa chikde tajidu ngi nye tajidu nye da tajidu trase kai mindus chesna chasan chigware sha gabriele nye jeba gabriele ya jachiko gabriele jachiko gabriele nye jebo gabriele an jada nye gaya ma barmala du stigore sembe tu samda yu kabla ne gansa phaje chasan ne chigwaro shi ese samda da chesna de gabriele nye na gabriele ki ane jachagre jare se de samda de karsa so kewa ngamala ro da nga 다 제와 딜랭아 저기 파마디게 삼다베나 제와 딜랭아 저기 녀랭아 저 분야다 파마다 로보디가 녀레 이나다 제와량 아마디레 제왕 아마레 직진의 자인식으로와다 정아 저 미팅 바로 신이야 가브릴레야 땅념네 네디게 뭐마신 바 다른 모델 유식이래 안데네 전전 제와랴 제왕 아마랴 장가스가요 말로 당가서 같이 렘바 같이 망볼래야 제상 가브릴레 자차요 가브릴레 분야 차요 가브릴레 파마 분야 차요 가브릴레 and the drop chayo, Gabriel pension to put jab, server jab, and jing pa zing it in the shoe chayo, then do some time. Chisa some lutitar tana, some Danish tabaina, Nechik did jare, taji to ding a jare shasa, did taji to Indian research guy miduas, Chisan Gabriel jare, jay, but jajeba, social jajeba, chikpa, nin jeba, chikpa, Gabriel Yanjik gasore. Dada nyengaya ma ngoi mashi ba parmale de chikpa dine chikpa redo wa sempige samno dine tang du kabla samno dita tang na so dine ta ba na ane gare chagre sene ngana jul kali gre sene ne ngana samno tang na de gare li gre sene gasa khashela pe dingi nyen de sempige sambo shuk chimbo de da di shenda de dingi jawore sembe samno shuk chimbo di chung du gre saje dine samno de pa chanyo baru le tu gre saje sungurwa.
So the sentence then follows on from what we discussed last week, which is that we need to look at the relationships we have with others and to see how we relate to them and investigate whether this relationship is as it appears to us or not. Because we relate to others with a fixed apprehension, seeing those that we are close to as being unequivocally a loved one, a dear friend, and those that we dislike as being unequivocally an enemy, someone we dislike, and others we have an indifference towards, and we accept that this is the reality, this is how our relationship is. But we need to challenge that, we need to think whether this really is the case or not. And we can reflect here in a number of ways, one of which is to take into account past lives. This is not our first life. We have had countless lives. And in many of those, in our previous life, we would have had parents, just like we do in this life. Those, in that life, they would have been dear to us, just like our parents are in this life. But if we have a relationship with our past life parents again in this life, it would not be as our parents. It would be in some other form, maybe someone we dislike. This is entirely possible. We cannot say for certain that with anyone that the relationship that we have with them now is the relationship we have always had with them. Moreover, if we look at it from this life perspective, we can also see that this is true. There are those that we are close to now, but we've perhaps in the past we did not know them, we were indifferent to them. Others we didn't get on with, and later we did. Moreover, one relationship can change from where someone is dear to you, but you have a big argument and you fall out. Later on, though, the relationship is once again close. So we need to reflect on this again and again to weaken this fixed apprehension we have towards others, seeing them and seeing our relationship with them in a static way, when this is not how it exists. So here we need to weaken this apprehension of them of the relationship as being in a particular way. And this then will weaken the resulting afflictions, and we will then progress to developing an attitude of impartiality or equanimity.
Disa ngaro zoge samlo nalya karing gorasene ngaro zo mikashe jinga zo ngoshin bada ma shin bada an su jike so su denige jinga zo mango tuyon de gabla an ngaro zoge samlo na kare yorasene jik tes jinga somne diles mijiglia semda nyawa de jiglia tes tarin waro ngaro samlo dioro chesa di sem na na nyering chi le dioro ba chesa nyering yor ba Benedigo, Jictewire, Jacibine, Robotia, Missumching, Robotia, Chavine, and Dambo, so the same Dania de Robotia, and Kishena, the same Dania de Kishia Roach. The same Jinga Delane, Jel Kishia Jungora, just the thing as in Yeringor, just on some not so that Patus in Chasan the Chipa or some down to watch Google Esor, that the Yering Mavach so good, the Tangum said. Niring said, and I was some of the Chiglipa, there's Gananche, Chigla, there's Migoa, Yungorvadi, Meva Suepa, Chasan Tata Chipach Kugure, that the Kugure Sungorwa.
And in your reflection, draw to mind instances where you developed connections with people, and see how you then see them in a static way, in a fixed way. For example, if you are introduced to a group of strangers, and let's say amongst this group of, say, 4 people, there's one who immediately warms to you, helps you out, introduces you to the others, shows you around, and really shows some kindness to you. You establish a relationship with this person, a sense of closeness to this person, seeing them as a kind person. And the others, perhaps, if they're not really making much effort, not interacting with you, you'll have a feeling of distance towards them. Not necessarily dislike, but a distance, close to the one who's helping you, and a distance towards the others. So recall to mind these situations, and then challenge this. Challenge this fixed way that we apprehend our relationships with others. In this way, we progress to develop impartiality.
Denigi sem danyum le tuya delia jugi jeba je gyumjen samda gyumjen mangbu samda jeba jene gyumjen samda de an gyumjen de 통요 de an oda jigbare sha sambe samtu le tu gurmado te gyumjen ga samma jang do sin osimjen tamje anje nyene jigyo mare jigba je ore sambe dene jibu samda 되게 temji anjulia the danyum de fajele tuya kala khabuji sarwa.
The way to transform our mind, to transform these deep-seated habitual ways of thinking, is to use reasoning, many reasons, again and again. Because if we just think to ourselves, all beings are equal, I should have an equal relationship to all, I shouldn't be closer to some, distant from others, just like that, without analysis, we're not going to challenge these deep-seated habits. Rather, we need to use reasons, many reasons, a variety of reasons, again and again.
Nene zada ne sem nganzo tanyum jahe de dangbo kanis changu re la de dangbo khorone sem jan thamje chipare sam samtamba sam digi dig maresta ta kanis changu re sem dangbo kasa chera pa chile samta changu re la de ta dene kanis changu re den chera pa kasa chibu kai kashi samta changu re je
Here the advice is, one shouldn't be thinking about the generality of all sentient beings, thinking, for example, we are all the same. This approach won't help. One needs to start with particularities, with 1 or 2 or 3 people, looking there at a far smaller selection, rather than as beings in general, humanity as a whole.
Rangi dundu sa janyin parma sumje kansa sumyeba samne deda la takkab deda ki nangne kanya ruwa shiki du tatu rang la pento baam neba cheba la ngeba meba samgoyes.
And continuing in the text, imagine 3 people. So here we come now to how to do the meditation, how to cultivate our mind. So looking at the text, imagine 3 people in front of you, a friend, an enemy, and a neutral person. And while observing them, consider that there is no certainty that any one of them will at all times either help or harm you.
Dine Suzuki that Dangan to come get in the Mune Trada Kijo is Sangas Meba Lulu Korwada, the Mene the Niki Pazuki Yada, the Nation to Lulu Mena, Dinico Parchin, Namia Chagurma, Dineza Soso Ganmeba Chamdi the engineer Emba, the Ruchi Cassetta, Dini Chamdi the Chilia Dorje, and some Dambo Sempleur, then some Lulu Sevichelia, and the Rangi Dundelia, and Jig. Rangle bear, Gabushu, Ralia Chambushu, Jake, Zawa Jake, Robert Jake, Michi, Java Samta, and Tujo Delia, and Jike, Miskidina Midi, Sosalia, Gunjo Jake, Sosalia Bear, Jikanga Jake, Michi Yavaji, Samta, Minije. That is Jikdel Mikima Midila, and Sosugi, Nami, Jawashra made and Sosalia Gunjo, the Niki, Gangayet, Jiki Mebache, and Sosulia, Chikawuta, Nyambuta, Betty, Hanching Mebachoron, Chiedi, Miss Sum, the Nisham Dango Regere. The Niki Twindele, Dangan to date in a Twindele, Dimisum de Yovare, when they did your ass and begin, then the Mebache or ass, and then goes to the Yomarwada, then Mebache, then is your ass, some Dangores.
So when one is gaining familiarity with a new system or a new object of meditation, it's important then to have as good as an ideal environment for the meditation as possible. One generally will meditate better where there is less external distraction to draw one's mind to. So somewhere quiet, somewhere where your mind can be relaxed, free of distraction. Something isolated, quiet, like where we are now. Then, with your mind spacious and relaxed and not distracted, then imagine 3 people, like the text presents, before one. And imagine as if they were really present. Call to mind someone whom you're close to, you have a warm connection with, someone that you recognize has helped you a lot. Then imagine a second person, someone whom you have a difficult relationship with, someone who gives you a hard time. Then the third person, someone you don't have much interaction with, that they don't give you a hard time, they haven't helped you particularly. When they come to mind, you don't have a warm feeling towards them, nor an aversion. So someone very neutral. So imagine these 3 different people as if they were before you.
다 되네기 제바자 사바 말에 대시데 대다라스 대다라 딱갑 대다게 나네 간야 롱와식 뒤다도 랑라 뇌밤 네 통세 랑기 둔두 세데 좋아데 랑기 둔소 잔님 밤마 숨게 가서 숨여봐 삼네 제 디셰서와 되네 대다는 대다라 따네서 대달에 제바져야 돼 제바 간에 제 되네 딱갑 제바 제갑세 버려 대 간에 제월은 대다게 나네 간야 롱와직 대시 숨난 당보 찍려야 삼당고래시 뒤다도 랑라 판밤 세데 내래 삼당고래서 다 찍려야 삼당고래 당보.
So read the same sentence again, because there are two steps here. First is as I've just presented. Imagine three people in front of you, a friend, an enemy, and a neutral person. Then the second step. And while observing them, consider that there is no certainty that any one of them will at all times either help or harm you.
지사다 되네게 숨되지 여봐 삼당 다 숨 딱시 제대갑을 다 간에 딱 제고래서는 당보 나랑솔레 빼 야구제게 소소레 니 소소레 판도 야구제 소소라 거부제게 미델레 삼당제 딱 제고래서 콜 간에 딱 제고래서는 다든 알아 거부제고 다든 니에 다른 알아 빼 야구제기도 삼 단 개왕아마 알아 가르쳐요래서 니에 자유래서 제가 개왕아마 직전에 자인유래서 안디 나도 개왕로 통마 개왕아마 니여변에 딩아마데 개왕로 통마 메바서 게디나 년장야 되요 말와서 제가 개왕아마마래야 말레 자체요래서 제가 알이야 강아 되어다 지동아 되요래서 된이 동아 되요래서 안 직제 제3단나 직제 직라 아니 개왕아마래야 소소 연예에 마야마 자야마 저 균에 매디건 발마지 되요래서 제가 다다 알이야 거부다 알에 판도다 빼니니레데 개왕아마라 냐망아마라 니 자양알에 자쟁알에 강아마 못돼요레스 아니 갑직라 야 개왕아마 갑직라 알야 녀야 마이바 모마신바 바르마치 되요레스 제가 다다 알에 약고제 삼다베네 다데 내갑수 니니레스 개왕아마 지라 뒤지라 알에 니 자고레스 개왕아마 뒤지라 바마레스 자녀가야 바마레스 제가 디니게 가사디 게디 인나갈야 년장야 레미도와 스카비 바자야 제샤 가비 바마 제샤 바마지 가야 저와 메바제 되샤 갑레 다디 갑서 녀야레도와 제가 자녀 바마 숨가 차도 와서지 디네 삼당 고래제래
Once in a quiet place, imagine these three different people before you. So those are the first two steps. Now one meditates with each of them respectively, starting with a person that is a friend. So this is a person that you're imagining before you, and just merely thinking of them, calling them to mind, immediately a warmness arises. This feeling of a warmth and a close connection with the person arises. So this is someone we'd call a friend. And we ask ourselves, so this is the relationship I have with this person right now. Did I have this a similar relationship with them in a previous life? Can I say that with any certainty? And perhaps the life immediately preceding this, especially if it's a person with a strong connection, maybe we had a good relationship then too. But can we say in every life, whenever we've met, we always got on so well? And of course, we cannot say that. There's no basis for saying that. We open ourselves here to the fact that in some previous life, this person who is so dear to us now, at this present time, in a previous life, they gave us a hard time. They tormented us. They brought many problems into our lives. And then we ask ourselves, and are those the only two possibilities? Now the mind is more receptive and more open, and we will recognize that there would have been other lives when we would have had interaction with this person, but no particular warmth of feeling towards them or aversion towards them. We would have probably been quite indifferent towards each other. In this way, we recognize that whilst right now with this person, they are a dear friend, someone I have a close connection with, but in a previous life, we could have been sworn enemies. They could have been someone who really gave me a hard time. And also, in lives previous to this, we may well have passed each other or even known each other, but our relationship was one of indifference. So in this way, we come to recognize that an individual, a particular person, we have had, whilst we have a relationship with them as a friend, we will also have had a relationship with them as an enemy and a neutral person.
Denigi that in our dos in our yin that in yin del dunli you can run go you can meet the quality sometimes the some down kuro. Denigi sometime denigi yin chendi Tagazi Jorosne, Jatar Manguchi Sayorwada, Yawa Mangulens and the Jatar Manguchi, Yin Diring Yin Chibumay, but Yin Yasar Manguchi Sayars. Says that Yin da, Jadan Yin Gayama Barma, Womashing, but the Nick Barma in the Chatu Gazisha, the Aunt Manguchi. Says that Dading Azula, Dading Azu, Rangi Dulu, Ranla Zewa, and Kawushu, Chikendi, and Alia, the Nick Gawu, the Zewa Tsar Mangu, Dali, Diring Chime, but your Mambinele, Tsar Manguchi Sayores. Diana Diring Al go whichever the Kiwa Mangamalia, Dangalia, never Kia, Dangalacante, Dubu, Moshu, Dansayores, Sarmongo Dansayores, Dangasio Mares. And the Yaji no marching by the Barmaji, the young Dangasio Sarmongo in the Juniores and Korajibula some Daji, the Nigi, Dada, Yenda, Barma, the new Duch and Chava, the Duch and some Dango.
Now the mind's been open and receptive towards this one person, now still staying with this one person, this dear friend in this life, we expand this, we open our mind, make it even broader, recognizing that since beginningless time, across innumerable life forms, this great expanse of time, with this person, this individual that I've called to mind, I would have had relationships or interactions with them in countless lifetimes. So it's not that we have been had a relationship of friendship, a relationship of conflict, a relationship of indifference, but actually we've had many lifetimes where we've had great connection, warmth together, and many lifetimes where we've had conflicts and haven't got on, and also many relationships. Many lifetimes where our relationship has been one of indifference. And here we make our mind ever more expansive in relation to the same person.
Danibadi Karsam Dangas, Danibadi Ranki, Sosu Tunde, Soso Kedi, Nasa Sosala Kanga Chicken, Junju, Kanga, Dinas Sutek, Chikanga Midi Pasam Daje. That those call some Daje. Go Gidina, that Yawalia Toma Mebare, and the Gidina Alia, Jawakin at Yervesene. Yawangama, Chixining Pamachi, Chixining Puchi, Chisang Alginche. And Yawangama dimension, Dingamadi in the Chigurism. The Yawala Toma Mebas, a Gidi, in a Yawal and Zetamjing, Jajanya Chagu Mares. Chisang Dineza, Gabrielia, me, Nalia, me. Chike Pamata, Punja, Yen Changalia, Robert Chibuja, Goshu, Chicken, Sewa taking the Juniores, JRS. Gabrielia, and Omashing Ba, and Jigan Geshe, that member Jawakai man, Pamba, and the Guy Panda Gaya Magic, and Jawa Meva Duchin, and the Gasupama, JRS. And Duchin some dane, and the young Lenjik, Lenny Mayemba. And then Alia, Pemba, they are quite Char Mambu, Yawal Toma Mebaza, and Char Mambu, Len Mambu Alia, Yin Juniores, and Dinajan, Len Mambu, and Nomashimba Barma Laneores. That Dinajan said, Young Alia never given us, Denigi Jawang among Amala, Denigi, Alia Len Mambu, Alikanga Jores. Chesan Dineza, Denigi studying and Dunugan Sosugi, Dawotia. Gabriele in alle Panto, Taochi, Gabriele in alle Yenji, Gabriele, Bamachi, Chesa de Ji, Pandochi, Mitida, Chibichigan, Shadow, Gabriele, Daddy, alle Taorete, 개왕아망 아말이야 아니 나래 니 장도 매버 주랑알 판도 장도 매버 제여레스 아니 뭐 마신 바 바마라 장도 매버 내여레스 딘디 중요레스 제사 딘디 중도 와서 비 딘디 삼당 거래제
Having concentrated in the meditation on the first person and broken down the fixed way that we apprehend our relationship with them, we now move to the second person, the person that we have conflict with, that now merely calling them to mind, an apprehension arises within us, a tension arises within us. So this is someone that we relate to as an enemy. Here, we guard our mind not to fixate on the reasons why we consider them an enemy, but immediately we utilize the meditation we've just done on our friend and ask ourselves, can we say with any certainty that in every life where I have had an interaction or a relationship with this person, that it has been one of conflict? Of course not. Perhaps they were my dear child in my life immediately previous to this. Certainly, in a previous life, they may well have been an enemy. There may well have been someone that helped me in many ways. And there would have been lives as well, where we knew each other, but our relationship was neutral, one of indifference, with no particular connection. And because we've had innumerable lifetimes, unimaginable life forms of an incredible span of time, with this person I'm now calling to mind. Right now, whilst we do have whilst conflict does dominate our relationship, it has not always been so. We may have had conflicts in many past lives, but too, we would have had many lifetimes where they showed great kindness to me, and also where I cared for them with a tender heart, as well as many lifetimes where there was no particular connection between us. And then, so here, thus far, this meditation on the enemy reflects the same sequence as the meditation on the friend. But now, having done these two of the three people before us, we can ask ourselves the question, so really, can I say that either of these people before me are quite different in terms of our relationship when we look at it in an expansive way? But actually, I've had a wide variety of relationships with both of them. I cannot point to either one and say, this one is kinder to me, this one has been worse to me. There is no valid foundation for that. Here, we start to develop our impartiality, recognizing there is really no difference in our relationships between either of these people.
나 간사 숨바 바마딜이야 삼단주 나 간사 바마데 다들 양에 저와 양알 자양 지교 말은가 편바 지교 말고 바마레 이네 제왕아말이야 다 제왕아말 토마 제왕아말 장금해 봐 인사 그디난 가 바마장야지 되어요 말레스 지상 제왕아말 가브릴 양이 년차요레스 제상알야 로버제 당알 거부제 년차요레스 제왕아말 가브릴이야 아니게 저와 차요레스 지상 디니 바마게 미디야 가브릴이야니 렌 망부응이님 찰 망부응이님지요레스 제상 알야 네버기엔 저와야 찰 망부지요레스 제상 다지 체디 디나데 다데 바마 나신 바미랑 디니치네 네 지금 망부지요레스 제상 디네자 간사 숨가 술 뛰베 이나양 가브릴이야 년제바 직벌하샤 가브릴이야 안 저와제바 직벌하샤 가브릴이 바마네바 직벌하샤 디네자 직벌 인자 데니기 좀자 삼단 차상 데니기 가브리엘 년제바 가브리엘 바마제바 가브리엘 저와제바 직벌 인자 저와 다딩이 듄리간 저와딩에 타지도 미가 와서데 제네 제가 김천가 민두스 그래서네 가브리엘 년제야 가브리엘 바마제요 지사당이 듄들이게 당 바마 수미장아 주게 한지 가우치엔들이야데 셈다니와 제야다 소소레 저와지엔들이야 마가와제야 아니 바마들이야 낭매제 샤야 저러와 어디 제디 가 김천가 민두 지사 숨가 지비지기하래샤 가브리엘야 말에 년중요라 가브리엘야 바마진데라 가브리엘야니 말에 저호 중요 지사 디니자 네 숨가라 안 찍바 따고마다 되니게 찍리 야가다 찍리 년제선 빼야고 삼다 찍리 자워서니 타지도 걸 막아 치워야 돼 김생 가야미도 제가 말말해서 돼 그 타지도 gel이야 낭매제 샤워야 돼 김생 가야미도와 선배기 되니게 삼다에도 되니게다 레레레네 숨바레레네 삼다한 삼두스타에도 제가 되네자 네 예링 가야미도 대신 건조 다타를 지직발마도 예링 제게 김생 가야미도 오서 되네고 발마 셈디 저 찬용 바로지 다상을 마서네 저 발마로지 찬용 바로 레투고 그래.
Then, having challenged and broken down this fixed apprehension we have of the person that we have conflict with in this life, we move then to the third person, the neutral person. And here the meditation is the same, calling to mind these innumerable past lives that we've had. That whilst this person right now, I feel no particular connection with, largely we go through life with an indifference towards each other. This is not the first life we've had interaction. In others, the relationship may well have been similar to what we're experiencing now. But in others too, we would have been close. We would have been dear to each other. Perhaps one cared for the other as a child, a parent and a child. And still others, the relationship may have been dominated by conflict. So we here then now recognize that our relationship with this person with whom we have this neutral person, a person that we feel no particular connection with, that this, to see them in a fixed way like this has no solid foundation at all. Because when we look back through past lives, we recognize that it is certain we would have had very different relationships in the past. So therefore, now having meditated in relation individually to each of these three people, we recognize that there is no reason that we can say, no valid reason that we can point to say, I should have a close feeling for one, an aversion towards another, and an indifference towards the third. Now, with this more expansive outlook, we relate to all three in an impartial manner, in an equal manner.
denegi gymchen samda du sin gymchen samda jeba che dun gymchen samda gymchen digeda du sin sumga janyin barma jeba sumga yoba de gymchen samda na ha go yodu ane semde tanyum de shi tanyum de yongure es tanyum sumga pa consumle datang samda de consumga datang jiba ro shi le tu de che je je gymchen samda jeba je gymchen samda wene dade ga de ongin yen de se de kolya be tachi du jimba 가야게 타지도 제야다 지디 엉eng에 자워에서 콜은 마가와 타주 제야다 지 리거로 받아 아니 다디 제 리거로 봐 제가 디 김제 마통의 gen기들 용거로 봐지 두 제바제 삼다도 삼다에도 김제 통요도 데 숨가 전인 바마 아니 지게 중화 직바도 실련 하고요도 디네스는 아주 삼르다 다디 아니 직바로 리그리 해야 돼.
Here in these three segments, I've presented a brief way that you can meditate on someone that you currently feel close to, someone you feel an aversion towards, and a third person that you feel an indifference towards. And it's through meditating, using reasons such as I've presented here, and doing so repeatedly over a sustained period, that you will change your way of thinking. Your outlook will become more expansive. You will not grasp at others in the same exaggerated way that we currently do, holding this person to be my dear friend, and this person to be my sworn enemy, and that lot, well, I don't really think of them very much. Rather, we will start to relate to all in an impartial manner, with a feeling of being equally close to others. And this comes about through meditating with reasons repeatedly over a sustained period. In this way, we break down the fixed way that we currently apprehend others.
예, 당한 저기 Jisaya Kalaro Samdavine, Dirwa, Jina Kala de Yunden Janja, Singers, Peg, Yunden Janja, Jigsa, Pembache, Sosole, Yapura, Subole, Pembache, the Shimbura Chuan, and the Niki, Jumzen Saka, Samada, Kinyama, Yapuchuas, Dijibu, sometimes Kala Pe, Yapur, that is our as a dinner, some Tanya, Shuchimata, Shuchimuji, Jorvada. The Niki, Shuchimule, the Dine Kala Dilia. 지파 제바라 제지 누치는 칼라사 신부 내가 신 유니고 사반의 수불 뉴기래서 하고 봐이나 난 뉴기 연구로 와 되는게 즉 신부디 망고 사반의 뉴고로 와 뇌 중고로 와 제산 빼는 아주 빼는 칼라 샤서 여바다 되는 산의 신부 수불 펜바를 와네 되는 샤서 여바다 게디나 되는 장야 사든 수불 뉴기로 와 제산 되는게 칼라들이야 된 직뇌의 긴제요 차지 여바 당보뇌의 균 여바다 균 아무거지 Yunden Janja Shimboda Shibusuchina, or Daddy Kala the Shimbo, this hour and big, the body Shuchimu Shuchi Lady Chagirua. That Delia Kala the Gyo, but that the Mango Universe and a Nuga, the Nidus and Nugi begin to you about the Hagona. Call a Yunden Yobache, Gyo Yoba Hagobana, at this Sana Shimbo in the Dust hour, Gedina desire Mata, Sebi, Sag, Jovadi, the Shuchundu, Chesandi. Gyenda Yunden Niga Yoba Tonsona and Delia Tajik Gyen Yobadi Gaso Yunden Zingo Zingma Legere. Tizanyanji Kalajigi Nimiji Saji Shimba Nevashin Social Bedrona Ganga Cheven or Daddy Kala Sam the Kala de Shimbu Yomare Subushu Nuga Sayomare Taji to Gyen Dashavena and Yanjik de Kala de Pa Jingazu Zubule Shimbu Mene Gabriel Sane Pe Yungurua. 지난 폐 여바 되는 뉴버요 하고는 타지도 교연통해야 돼 링 말이죠. 어디 지난 지코 교연다 되는 여러데 이나 까브레까브르사는 수불의 팽기를 최대의 팽기를 해야지. 뒤영화 지어와 어디니게 칼라지고 섬다면은 윤된자자 섬다면은 델레 차신 주신불 해야지. 다 칼라디게 윤대의 교니가 통보이나 근데 디지기 차신 차고도 숙체가 돼. 신부지어야 돼. 아 칼라 신부지 매바이네 Die Gün Janja da der wenn Macher Güne sei Döbemeba und den ich lehrte. Da die Kala die Yunden die Tombo inne und Gün Yorde inne Yunden Pen der Nüber über Pen über Tombo ja Barmajo der Tajidu Gün 말에 고 산에 뛰어서 핑기를 해야 돼. 근데 그 타지도 Gün der 매바제. 근데 타지도 Yunden der 매바디 디 용료바 등안 주기 다 세부로 지금 주기 영어로 리고로 하고 거로 받네.
What we don't recognize here is that our normal way of thinking is quite extreme. But through this meditation, one will come to have a more balanced outlook. So for example, if there's a particular food that you enjoy, it tastes really nice, it's quite healthy, and you're thinking about, oh, I'd really love to eat this particular food, and it's okay, it's not something particularly bad to eat, then one will strive, seek it out, eat it, and eat it some more, and eat perhaps even more, and eventually will overeat. And then one's not so happy. Then the stomach is complaining. So what has gone wrong here is that our mind was dominated by attachment. So we had an exaggerated approach to this particular food. And therefore, whilst it wasn't anything that unhealthy to eat, we overindulged, we overdid it, and now we feel quite uncomfortable. But then, if we were to say, oh, I feel terrible, I'm never eating this again, then that again is going to the other extreme. Here now, we're following another affliction, that of aversion. I'll never eat that again. The sensible approach that we can easily recognize is to say, this is healthy, but eat it in a balanced way, without getting overly excited and therefore overdoing it. And likewise, not to have an averse reaction to something that isn't particularly harmful for oneself, but to approach it in an even way, a balanced way. So this is a more sensible way to live our lives.
배치 오치 현자하게 삼로디 착화의 충주고리에서지 안직 뭐 소설에 마가 미디 뇌바장 그 자와 짱짱 삼다배나 뒤축치모 시우리 제상 소설에 디 소설에 펜바여바데 소설 코 연대나 소설 펜바여바 삼다배나 콜레 배 마가에 삼로디 충주고리에서 제상 내내 연자당도 당보 삼다디 랑기 둔데라 랑기 제 가위가 랑에 녀기 지다 랑을 자워 지다 바마미 숨지 삼살 상다 Dene sumgane re Gabriele Ninjebare, Gabriele Bamare, Gabriele Jawachebare, Sumgal Dusu, Samdade, Tin Sumga Jiba Chason Wada, Jiba Chade, Jiba Tonga do Dene, Nazo Samla Dana Pajo Patana de Samda Taji do Gilia, Ningi Chakpache, Chashin Yada, Taji do Gila Magawa Gea, Taji do Jig Nangme Shasha, Mebaje, got Semdi Pat Dana, Danyam Teleturi, Essage, and Dona di Sungtua.
Meditating this way, from one person to another to a third, recognizing how we currently relate to people, with those that we hold as dear, we have a strong attachment to them. We want to be with them, merely calling them to mind, a joy arises. But there are others who we have an aversion towards, that merely calling them to mind, hearing their name or their voice, an aversion, a pushing away arises within us. We relate to them in a fixed way, a static manner, as if this is a person who will bring me happiness, this is a person who will bring me pain, and see them in a fixed manner in this way. Rather, through doing this meditation, based on reasons, again and again, we recognize that the relationship we have with any individual is not the only relationship we've had. And in fact, not only have we had a wide variety of relationships with each person, but because of that, there is no way to differentiate between people, between this one has shown me more kindness than that one. There is no basis for that. Equally, there's no basis to say this is a person who's harmed me more than any other. There's no basis for this. Recognizing then that there is no basis to differentiate between others, saying that this someone is someone that's near and dear, this is someone awful I want to have nothing to do with, and these are the group that I don't really care for. There's no basis for that. There is no reason to say that it is appropriate to be close to some and distant from others. In this way then, we start to develop equanimity or impartiality towards others, relating to others in an equal manner, not seeing some as more worthy or some as that we want to be with more than others.
Then Ditabi Gomni Semjin Chizambala Maimbar Jedaba Shila Musu Gane Samyudi Kachimbo Yinsen.
Continuing in the paragraph, it is important to do this meditation with regard to specific persons and not just all sentient beings in general. This I've already presented now, that one shouldn't start with all sentient beings or with a vast number of beings, but start with a small group, a group of 3, and in this way one will be able to have an impact on one's mind.
Dan Jerabaji Kaplaya, the dwindle mini lesson and the jig social gyunju shikanji da jig go chen lesson lamsang at the same day konila tang le tu mares ke deji jizamba jiza semja namja da jige da jigbare sem tangnim re sam taware de dine sam taware de ine gyumje ya da ba ha mogore mogode andadi jera ba kapsu babike ne kapchi liang mi jera ba ni sumchi le de and nga zuge samnedi rangi gayu chodle semda nyawa da sosolyam gyunje magaje de semda ringwa de dagara du sha de gre ma do ndele tanim le tu mare she jesa samle gyuo zhe tuge ne de minba shi da da ji yong tu mare she yong mi tu psene.
And the reason why one shouldn't start with all sentient beings but rather with specific beings is then presented in the rest of the sentence. The latter being too vague for a change of attitude to apply to specific people. Here, as I mentioned earlier, if one sits and thinks, all beings are equal, all sentient beings are equal in value, and things like that, that is too general approach. It won't have an impact on one's mind. One rather needs to start with a small group of 3, as mentioned, and use reasons. In that way, one will change one's mind. But if one rather meditates on all sentient beings as this large collective, we are all the same, then when you encounter 2 people, one who you're close to, one whom you're distant with, not having meditated in the way I've mentioned, based on correct reasons, immediately in your mind, a nearness, a closeness to one will arise, pulling you to them, but an aversion will arise to the other, pushing you away from them. So therefore, one should meditate in the way that's presented here.
Dene rimgi gansa disumla migbige tanyum sambashi ke tublas di juso nyowan di rimgi gansa shenla gyage che tuba yin sedo.
Then the paragraph concludes. Gradually, a sense of impartiality will develop towards these 3, after which you can extend this actual experience slowly toward other beings.
Dene rimgi gansa disumla migbige tanyum sambashi ke tubla sedo deji shedere rangi dunliya rangi nyenchi dan jawo chi dan tanyum barma sum chi sa tab an dele mine anzu cheba ji du che samdane dene gansa sumga gabriele nyen gabriele jawo gabriele barma cheba du sen dia le jangle de ba mangbo shu chi che ba de du samdan yu ani gansa disumla mibi sede dene ge samdan mibi gansa disumbo de la tanyum mi samlo de ke tu re jere dene ke tu bi 니 юмsen 제연데 제소 심정 술 심정 탐지 심정 가능신나 통해도 안데 통해도 갈 어디셔서 다 대신님 숨기 제바집이 제그 용의 돕기 하고 비기 셰 용화디 돕기 안다 심정 어디 차상 가브리엘야 년제요래 가브리엘야 자오제요래 가브리엘야 안에지 바마제 뭐마신 바마진데 진짜 디야 렌장 장례데바 빠도메바 중요래 셈비기 삼다치 아니 심정 탐제리야 안 땅님들이 두그레스 개개 툭체도 디 강사 샹라 개개 지 투바 인시도 심전 샹다 강사 간에나데 땅님이 삼로 땅 두그레제.
As stated here, one needs to start with the meditation with a group of 3, but meditating on them individually, the friend, thereafter the enemy, thereafter the stranger, and doing so utilizing many reasons. Thereafter, when you've felt a change towards how you relate to these 3, then apply it to others. Change this group of 3 to another group. And eventually, going through this process, one can apply the same reasoning to whomever you call to mind, whoever you think of. You can recognize that whatever that relationship you have with them, which will be one of the 3, friend, enemy, or stranger, that relationship's not fixed. They would have been someone, whomever this person is right now to you, they at some point would have been, probably many times, a dear friend, Then other times, someone who gave you a hard time. And at other times, someone that you were indifferent towards. So in this way, one slowly expands from the initial 3 to another group, and slowly, one by one, to more people.
Adi tanyum gomnadi che, tanyum gomnadi che. Adine, Dadigala danganzu gyunje menga dungyene da dangbodire, simjantamche rangi mar sheba sido ma je nyongwadi, simjantamche rangi ma je nyongwadi, 하고 그래서 셰바시도 마 심장님제 랑게 마 셰발라도 심장님제 랑게 마인바 체명해 발라요 말 체명해 셰발라는 지나 하고 또 발라 그러 심장님제 랑게 마인바 또 발에베스네 디도야 심장님제 랑게 마마르와 세딜레 지금 밤에 님마도요 마르와 지나다 나도 나가 심장님제 랑게 마 셰발로 심장탐제 랑게 마제 뇽와 제 뇽와 랑게 파마 제 뇽와디 또 그래서 심장님제 랑게 마 셰바시도 심장함제 랑기 파마 제 용화디 체면 또 거래 제 용화디 네 당님들다 거당 심 당님샤죠 당님면은 당님 장과디 예링 매봐서 그래서 이건 바 당님 섬다다 심장함제 디제 다 당한 저기 균에 맹아 둥에는 유죽난 당보디 가서 섬당 거래서네다 디 녀레 당님 섬다이디로 지나다 다 규루나의 당보 섬다에 가슴전제 랑게 마 제용와디 하고 그래서디 파 섬다지 하고와 제고래지 그래 말시해 봤어요.
This meditation on impartiality is the indispensable foundation to embark on the training of the 6 causes leading to the one effect method. Having cultivated equanimity well, then one starts to develop the attitude, or the outlook rather, that we have a relationship of parent and child, mother and child, with all sentient beings. And this is something that we need to come to experience for ourselves, to know for ourselves with valid cognition. So this requires, or to be able to do so, one requires the basis of impartiality. And then one is ready to start cultivating the recognition that we have a relationship of parent and child with all beings.
대신 저기 땅님선비 가브리라 마제뇨와레 가브리라 자여진 가브리라 바마제뇨와레스는 되네 숨삼던 거로와 다디가서 셰데 다 가르쳐고서네 다 바마제뇨와레 자제뇨와레 디섬 마다와제 랑게 마제뇨와레스 삼로도 슉셔당 거다 간지 된다 슉셔당 거 당고거와다 랑게 마제뇨 디델야 삼론 마소나 마와 다제 지마와도 김신 마 삼당여도 한심잔지 랑게 마제뇨와데 다 제뇨와레 샤스베 삼데 체명해 봐야 돼 거와.
With both these meditations, that of first impartiality, thereafter of coming to see beings as our mother, or having been our mother, we relating to all sentient beings. But with the meditation on impartiality, we're doing so within dividing beings into groups of 3: friend, enemy, and stranger. And now, when we come to the second meditation, the first of the 6 causes, here we're only thinking about them in relation to the relationship of mother and child. Whereas previously in impartiality, we were relating to others through relationships of friend, enemy, and stranger. But here, in coming to gain experience that all beings have been our mother, we also, like in the impartiality meditation, need to meditate with many reasons in order to give rise to a transformative realization.
That in my Ditabun Jua Jua Nas, Rimbaniber, Simjen Tam Jigi, Gewala Toma Mebadang, Della Dene, Dangla Tamebe, Simjen Riri, Wine, Gewa Kanya Runwa, Shigla, Rani, Ninji, Taratuba, Pamaso, Jinwa, some quiz. 디다비 대지 제수 뇽와 림신 가사의 신이 개개 툭선 바자사서 나는 마 디다비스 디다비 규르중하나 림바니브르 심전 탐지에 개와라 토마메바다 델라데네 장라 타메베 심전 레리 응원에 개와 강양루와 시글라 라니기 니기 타르투 파몬 소 제뇽와 삼괴스
In the next paragraph, when you have undergone this change, the next step is to consider that since everyone's births have been beginningless and thus limitless in number, every single person has been your best of friends, parent, and so forth over the course of lifetimes.
지산 디다비 유어 중화나 시디 심제 탐제래 심 땅념 지려와 내용도 요새로 유어 중화나 세디세오래.
Paragraph starts with when you have undergone this change. So this change refers to having cultivated an attitude or an outlook of impartiality.
규화래도 대신아 저 심제래 니링 망부셔로 와당아서래 니링 알아서 삼론나를 샹라 찌리 냐와나 찌리 가와나 찌다 미가와 찌리 여반다 디 땅념 장지 심제 탐제래 디네기 니링이 파 규르제 심제 탐제래 And
what is it that has changed when you have undergone this change? So what is it that has changed? Well, this current closeness we have towards some and distance we have towards others, this will be gone. Now one will have a relationship of impartiality or will relate to others with impartiality, having a relationship that is equal, where you relate to others in an equal manner, without this closeness and distance.
나데네 심전타지 데니게 삼단 다가라 샤샤바나 삼로데 나님 주네 데니 야게 조야스카요 말아 지사 데네 가르삼당 고르스네 다심전나 자랑게 마제 용어도 된고리 에세데 야게 심 삼로데 땅님 딜레 야 삼로데 뉴버처다야라 안네 가르스 림바니바 심전 탐지게 깨와라 토마요 말스 지사 심전 가르스나 깨와든 아망아망아마 디바도 요래 딜레 요 말스베 가요 말 토마요 말스 제 붐라 시호지요래 깨와라 토마메바다 깨와 토마메바도 삼당 고래제 단 토마메바상 델라테네 장 타예베시 깨와 토마메 깨와 야네 야도 레야디야 장가스다 디즘기 깨와 렘바레 디즘 깨와 렘바 마레세 깨와라 렘바레야 장 집에네 장들한 타메바지리에서 타메베 지사 디네기 타메베에서 디바도지나
Having developed impartiality, this is the indispensable foundation, but we need to then develop it further. Whilst impartiality is the indispensable foundation for, as the text says, the next step, we need to then take the next step and develop our mind of impartiality ever further. So here we have already, in our development of impartiality, we have already cultivated this outlook that is expressed here. The next step is to consider that since everyone's births have been beginningless and thus limitless in number. So in the previous meditation, we reflected on our innumerable lifespans, unimaginable life forms, and that this has been experienced over an inconceivable span of time. So we already have that foundation for this next step of the meditation.
나 디니게 장메 바인장 다 심제 레레응외네 깨와 강양 룽와 시글라 라니기 니 타두바 파마소기 파마소 인제뇽와 삼고에서데 다 디니게 심제 레레응외네 소소라랑 심제 레레응외네 깨와 렌뇽와 샤다 심제다 심제라 장메 바레 심제 장메 바산 심제 디자닝이 깨와 디자니 깨와레 디자니 깨와 요 말세데 디셰메지다 심제 레레응외네 깨와 렌뇽바 깨와 렘바데 깨와 렌뇽바데 삼당고래제 심제 르릉원에 깨와 가야로와시 가브리엘야 안지 불이 깨라 가브리엘 보몰 깨라 가브리엘가 미 부깨라 가브리엘야 안 둔도이 부를 깨라 가브리엘 헤이드네 데네기도 하네 두신 심제 르릉원에 장 안지 길 차를 망보 데네게래 망보 두신 심제 르르 깨와데 깨와len 바디 아니 두 삼도 그래서 제가 디네 깨와len도 라니 인게 타도고 파마서 죄녀와 삼고지 다 디네기 깨와 심제 레레 원에네 소수 원에 고 깨와len도 대심전 찾아 랑기 파마 죄녀와데 대 인기 타도 봤으니 파마라야 양 부울이야 다고마자 부울이야 마시 파마 있는 부울이야 직 전부집이 내봐서요 말와 제가 다 디네기 매도 다 인기시도 인기 파마 탈도 파마 죄녀와 된 것을 대 파마디야 랑래야 제와단 잠보다 잠병 제hin기 짱짱될 제 죄용화도 두신의 삼당고 데니기 죄용화 망부 두신의 죄용화도 삼당고 그래야지도 다 심제 레레기 이 파마 제바래 데니 제비 갑래 갈래야 배 직전보다 데네 제위 용요래 선비게 두신의 난제 인기 탈도 파마 잠병 제hin기 파미 부고 제 죄용화 디전에 파미 제建用啊，地震的建用，地震底下冷静嘛，冷涨了对吧？忙不建用啊，的都现在上当过来去了。
So here, in the first step here, you're recognizing or reminding oneself of the limitless expanse of rebirths that all beings have had, oneself and others, and in innumerable life forms as well. And this is the case for myself and others. We've all been born as whatever sex we are in this life, but also the other sex. And we've been born as humans, we've been born as animals in the wide variety of animal forms, and unseen beings too. So this is the situation for all of us. Innumerable lifespans, unimaginable life forms. And now, moreover, now we continue with the verse, with the paragraph. We have had relationships, interactions, connections with each and every other being. Beings are limitless in number. Rebirths are limitless in number. So therefore, it is certain that we would have had many connections, interactions with each individual being at varying points across this expanse of beginningless time. And amongst these relationships that we would have had with others, there would have been quite a variety. But here we focus on the relationship that we've had with them as parent and child. And again, in the relationships of parent and child, there are different expressions in terms of quality of parenting. But here, we can be certain that because of beginningless lifetimes, with each being, we would have a relationship where they were not just a primary caregiver, but they did so tenderly, with love and with care.
안에는 자 두신의 강한 주기 당하지래 다데네기 깨와 데네기 렌용여래 데네 렌여 다딩이 디자네 깨와래 딩이 파마제냐 딩이 파마제 내가 디자네 깨용여 삼다도 내심전 딩이 파마제냐 뭔가 디자네 깨 명여래 선지시에 매바르세 지난도 제때 데네 삼다도 근데 고 아니 데네기 심전 탐제자 내가 깨와 렌용 발전량 차대 번자 심전 탐제의 파마제용어 샤다 레샤마도 심전 딩이 파마제 만용어 레샤 선배기 샤야지 민두 선배 삼로지 삼로 나라지 딜레 투고래 딜레도 갑라 아니 가르서워스네 심전 탐제 랑게 마제 용어 셰바 세다 하고 거래 차바래 그래서 심전 탐제 랑게 마제 용어 레샤 선배기 삼로에도 심전 탐제 랑게 마제 용어 셰바 세 지리고 제가 데니기 어디야 김제로 삼마다나 개왕아마다 데니게 삼마다나 매나 데니 심전랑게 마제 용어데 삼다고 균이미도아 진짜 개왕아마데 개왕아마레 장매바서 개와라 장매바서 가벨리앙에 밀리케어레 테카벨링이 심진 디 데네치리 개와렌 마뇨와레세 메레다 가벨레 할리케어레 가벨레 냐와케어 가벨레 둔롤케어 다 둔롤네 냐다 다 부신다 마나케어라 할라가 지금 데벨하다 수결하다 수미결하 데소에 개와 망불렌 사요라 가지고 제가 나도 가벨리아 수다 수미게 저데 배원시에 끼든 주르던 두건 데네기 안에 데네기여래 이나고 Nyomoba Mapa Bazan, Tarba Mato Bazan, Yanja, and the Deval Makia, Diane Kovalkia, the Ungorwa, Dinezada, the Niki Kia Milimpa Mebanza, Semjan Kanichili, and Amaki was a unimido. Chisata, Semjan Sama, the King Yoban, Semjan Tajing, Maji Yon, Shadamato, Mani J. Manon said the G. Midus. Maji Yon, the young Sarjik Javarebe, Dini Jayamas and the Hammer, what Yawala, Yani Adu Limbanza, Janga Mebanza, Sara Mango Jinger did Sardinis Jere, Dini Jayamas, Janga Jamna Janga Tutu Yamare, such. Dusin Samdane, Semjana Jamar, Rangi Machi, or Redua, Chasa Jin or Janja Redua, some big some logic Dusin, Nanzugi, get to go. Chesadine is a Dusin, Shimju, Jebaje, Yane, and the Jumse, some Tavena, and the Semjan Rangi Machi, or Shata Redua, some little to go.
Based on the training we did in cultivating impartiality, overcoming the closeness we feel to some and the distance from others, we are now ideally suited to meditate here, coming to gain transformative experience that we have had relationships of mother and child with each and every single sentient being. So here in this meditation we reflect that there is not a realm that we haven't been born in. In fact, in each of the realms, we've been born so many times, including in the upper realms of the God realms, and the form and formless realms. We would have attained clairvoyance and karma abiding and the clairvoyances that come with karma abiding many times in past lives, and therefore been born in the form and formless realms many times. And in those, and not only there, we're a human now, but we would have had countless rebirths as a human, as well as in the lower realms. So there's not a realm that we haven't been born in. There's not a life form that we haven't lived in. And this is the case not just for myself or yourself or some people, but for each and every being. And thereafter we reflect that across these innumerable lifespans and unimaginable life forms, we have formed connection, had relationships of an inconceivably wide variety as well. So therefore, we would have had in different realms, different life forms, connection, relationship, interaction with beings, and therefore we would have had a wide variety of relationships with all beings. And amongst these, we would have had a relationship of mother and child. And amongst those, we would have had many of a relationship of a child that was cared for with tenderness, kindness. So this then is a sequence of the meditation that one engages in, coming to gain transformative experience that I have a relationship of mother and child with each and every single sentient being.
Nyamdo di shila shades rimgi semjen tamji nyingi dushe kitupsene.
The paragraph concludes with the sentence, taking this insight as a basis, you can slowly develop a sentiment of close friendship towards all sentient beings.
Dini zada dini gi semjen je rangi machi gyumzen samda du chide semjen je rangi machi nyo shada redwa sembige da semlia sem dingi ngeba chi leyo du dini ane semjen dini gi nyamdo se de dini gi da karsore rangi machi nyo wa sheba hago ge samlo ji se nyamdo se and dini ndi thone ne da rimbe ane gelije semja tamjeda rangi nyenjanja redo ni redo sebe semja rangi nyere sembege samlodi ki tuguri hejeri.
Taking this insight as a basis, you can slowly develop a sentiment of close friendship towards all sentient beings. Here, as one has developed the foundation of impartiality and now the recognition that we have this relationship of mother and child with all, this relationship of tenderness and care with all, As we come to recognize this from deep, deep within our heart, then we develop a genuine warmth, a feeling of closeness towards all sentient beings.
Jike simjen tamje rangi ma she shu nyong wa se kom na di ni gi sam dang bo tang yam sam da da dia da di nga jike kom ge gi lo jang ge rimba ro she du sul ma so na yen zel ma so na dang bo di se di ji jang na rimba si wa da di nga ju jang shu sem gyu le ge la sam lo di ni dang yu to ne nga jang shu sem gyu le ge gu gu re she ji san di ni yen za 당보 당념 삼다도에 semje 탐제에서 마시마시 당보 미숨 제 전인 바마 숨지서 답 델이야 당보 지리야 안지 금제 대시에 바나지 되네 금제 전인 바마 제용화도 삼다 아니 이바데 삼다 숨바 숨과 삼다도 안데 숨딜에 미비게 당념리를 그래서 니 당념리에도 다 되네 디 금천의 전에 semje 탐제를 당념리도 검토 그래 제래 다 되네 검토도 다 당념 검토에 제려 대시 삼다다나네 삼노 숨유베나네 삼노 현단이디샤 자오 제뇽와단 바마 제뇽 삼 파샤제 다심전저랑에 파마 제뇽와디 닌제뇽와디 니야네야 김세 삼다 지금 제뇽와레 데게와라 토마요 말에 게와라 장가요 말 매와자 당이 차마부 게와레요레 게와린디가라 파마리레 지산 밀리 개발은 발라 장요 말에 재산 디갑소 마 파마레레 요래 둔조를 개발해 발라 장요 마딜레 파마요래 재산 셈젠 차상아 디전에 개발레 마뇽와세 민도 재산 셈젠 상마전에 개발레 뇽와 짱야레샤 재산 개발레냐데 렌지마 발란 장레 데바 개발레 뇽와 짱야레로와 재산 셈젠 탐제랑이 파마지 뇽와 짱야레도와 셈베기 두신의 삼다데 셈제랑이 파마지 뇽와 짱야레도와 셈베기 삼나제 땅에는 가슴질이야 되는 김제 산데 어떻게 용어래도 선배로야 땡세지 내바지 개용을 해지래. 근데 이 개용도 semjanным 저랑게 마르셰 바세 다 고래체. 지난 디 개용도 semjan다 저랑게 파마지 용어디 개용도 안 디기도는 디기 전에 개인진에 가서 semjannym 저랑게 니레샤다. 랑알야 거부지게래 샤스. 랑게 니레샤스데 다 소소니 소소를 거부지게래 랍도 안 슈를 갈레그레스는 아주 sem디 파레 가와지에게 삼도 리로와 어디네자 심전자랑이 니레샤 선배 삼단데 도신에 리투레 해야지 당한 저기 검잡다 당보 삼당한 삼로도 규와 땅고 봐서 단 삼로 나나도 소소신에 땅고 그래야 돼 데니스 다베네 먼저 삼발 삼로디 야야야야 뭐 야게 조그래 해야지 언도 순고를 당도 드링이 쉬어야 돼 삼다다 되네.
To summarize then what we've looked at thus far here, in terms of the stages in which to train one's mind in order to develop genuine bodhicitta and thereby attain Buddhahood itself. One starts with a meditation on impartiality. Here the clear advice was not to start out with looking at all beings in general, but to start out with just a small select group, someone that when you call to mind, a closeness, a warmth arises, a second person that an aversion arises towards, and someone else that one relates to in an indifferent manner. And then, starting with a person that one feels a warmth towards, utilizing correct reasons, come to see that there is no fixed relationship between the two of you. The relationship has changed in this life, and it's been very different in past lives. Then meditating like this in terms of the person one feels close to, when one comes to recognize that there's no valid basis to say that we have always had such a relationship, one then moves to the person that one currently feels an aversion towards, recognizing through going through the same steps that there is no valid basis for seeing them in that way either, in the same fixed manner. And then coming to see between these two people, there is no way one can validly say, this person is my dear friend, and this person is my sworn enemy, because our relationships have changed so many times since beginning this time. Then one moves to the third person, the one that one is indifferent towards, and goes through the meditation in the same way. And in this way, one's meditated just on 3 people. When one feels confident, then one expands that to perhaps a new set of 3, and then slowly expands it to further and further, eventually coming to the point of recognizing whomever one is interacting with, the way one is experiencing them now is not the relationship one has always had. In this way, we break down this fixed relationship the fixed way that we relate to others. When we've developed a sense of impartiality, where an evenness with regard to how we relate to others, we then go to the first of the 6 causes to give rise to bodhicitta, where we recognize that because of these innumerable these innumerable life forms that we've had, where we've been born in every realm, conceivable number of times, in every life form within each realm, an inconceivable number of times, we therefore have developed, or we therefore have had relationships, connections with each and every single being. And included within this, we would have had relationships of mother and child. And included amongst those, we would have had relationships of great tenderness and care, where we were cared for with genuine love and warmth. Now we develop this way of thinking towards each and every being, recognizing that this relationship we have is with each one of them. There's none that we have not had that relationship with many times. And in this way, through doing this meditation repeatedly over a sustained period, we come to relate to all as being dear, as being of value to us. So this then, or these then, are the 2 steps of meditation we've looked at. And if one engages in these, one is developing an indispensable foundation in which to transform our mind and eventually generate bodhicitta itself. Then thank you. Then we'll conclude there for this evening. Thank you.